Ladies and gentlemen, today we address a moment that underscores the very thin line between caution and confrontation on the open seas. The title speaks for itself. A Chinese fighter jet flying dangerously close to a United States Navy destroyer. This is not just a maneuver in the sky. This is a calculated risk that challenges the boundaries of professionalism, discipline, and the rules of engagement that safeguard our waters. Imagine the scene. The roar of jet engines cutting through the sky, the shadow of steel wings passing just a little too near to one of America's most powerful symbols of freedom at sea. This isn't a training drill, it isn't a coincidence, it is a test. A test of how far the United States Navy can be pushed, and a test of how firmly we stand against intimidation. Hooks like these remind us, when a jet flies too close, it's not just distance being measured, it's resolve. When a Chinese fighter jet slices through the sky and pushes dangerously close to a U.S. Navy destroyer, the world takes notice. It is not merely a passing flight, nor just another maneuver logged into routine naval operations. It is a signal, deliberate and calculated. Every inch closer than safety demands, every second spent inside an uncomfortable range, carries meaning far heavier than the roar of engines or the shimmer of steel in sunlight. It is provocation dressed as presence, a test of nerve disguised as routine. The Navy force knows this truth well. The ocean is vast, but intentions reveal themselves in how closely one dares to dance with risk. Hooks like this moment are more than dramatic, they are dangerous. For every pass that breaks comfort zones, tension thickens like storm clouds before lightning strikes. Imagine the eyes on radar screens, the voices over radios, the watchful sailors calculating distance and speed with precision that leaves no room for error. Each one of them knows that what may look like a split-second move from the outside world is, in reality, a chain of decisions, consequences, and potential escalation. A fighter jet does not simply fly close. It intrudes, it postures, it presses the boundaries of professionalism and trust. And when that fighter jet belongs to a nation like China, whose strategic ambitions stretch as far as the seas themselves, every move is a chapter in a larger contest. The United States Navy destroyer beneath that jet is not just a vessel, it is a message carved in steel. Every rivet, every weapon system, every sailor aboard represents decades of discipline, training, and sacrifice. To fly too close is not only to flirt with danger, it is to challenge the resolve of a force that has protected international waters for generations. And that challenge is not lost on anyone who witnesses it. It is not just the ship and the jet locked in proximity. It is two powers, two ideologies, staring each other down in silence, with the world as their witness. Yet the Navy force never allows itself to be rattled. Reckless proximity may be designed to provoke a reaction, but our strength lies not in rashness, but in control. Hooks that attempt to bait us into miscalculation only reinforce our discipline. The crew aboard a U.S. destroyer knows that every move, every command, every heartbeat matters. They operate with the clarity that comes from knowing one mistake could ignite headlines, unsettle markets, and destabilize regions. That is why our response is not noise, it is presence. Not panic, but power. The destroyer sails on, unshaken, a reminder that provocation cannot dismantle preparation. But let us not underestimate the stakes. A close pass is more than a headline. It is a message whispered in the language of power. It tells us that rival nations are willing to dance with risk, to test the boundaries of our patience, and to gamble with the world's peace for the sake of showing presence. And yet, every time such a maneuver occurs, it reminds the world of who is truly in command of the seas. The U.S. Navy does not seek confrontation, but it does not shy from it either. Its mission is clear, its posture is steady, and its readiness is unmatched. This is why a Chinese jet flying too close to a U.S. Navy destroyer is not just an act of aviation. It is an act of strategy, a move in the grand chessboard of global power. And in that moment, the destroyer beneath the wings is more than a ship. It is America's promise at sea, a promise that says no matter how close an adversary flies, they will never shake the foundation of the Navy force. Every time a fighter jet slices across the sky and edges dangerously close to a U.S. Navy destroyer, the air itself becomes a proving ground. This is not just a flight path. It is a deliberate gesture, a silent question flung across the waves. How strong is America's resolve? Will the Navy force hold its ground with discipline and clarity, or will it stumble into reaction and risk? These encounters are more than physical. They are psychological battles fought at the speed of sound, where perception is as powerful as weaponry. And when an adversary dares to test those waters, they are not just measuring distance, they are measuring determination. Hooks like these are sharp, intentional, and aimed straight at the heart of credibility. Imagine the jet, wings glinting in sunlight, closing in on a destroyer that carries not only missiles and radar, but also the reputation of an entire nation. The closer it flies, the sharper the question becomes. Can the United States be pressured into missteps? Will the destroyer flinch under provocation? But here lies the difference. The Navy force does not respond to pressure with panic. It responds with precision. Where others gamble, the Navy calculates. Where others provoke, the Navy prevails. A test of resolve is not passed in words but in composure. Every sailor aboard that destroyer feels the weight of the challenge, but none allow it to dictate their discipline. Their training ensures that the line between provocation and escalation remains firmly guarded. A rival may believe that by skimming close, by igniting tension, they can uncover weakness. Yet they discover the opposite. They see a Navy unmoved, a destroyer unshaken, and a force whose confidence comes not from bluster but from mastery. Hooks like these only reveal the unbreakable truth. When America's resolve is tested, it does not bend, it hardens. But let us not mistake restraint for weakness. When a jet flies too close, the Navy's response is deliberate, measured, and powerful in its patience. Every radar sweep, every radio transmission, every signal of readiness speaks louder than any reckless maneuver in the sky. The test is ongoing and the world is watching. Each move made by the destroyer echoes far beyond the horizon, sending a message to rivals and allies alike. The United States Navy cannot be baited into errors, but it will never be intimidated into silence. The deeper truth is this: tests like these are not simply between two machines of war, they are between two visions of strength. For one, strength is found in theatrics, in reckless demonstrations, in trying to unsettle an opponent by flying too close for comfort. For the other, strength is measured in consistency, in readiness, in the ability to stand tall in the face of provocation and remain unshaken. And every time such a test occurs, the Navy force demonstrates to the world that true power is not about who blinks first. It is about who never needs to blink at all. To test the resolve of the United States Navy is to awaken a history of victories, discipline, and unwavering presence at sea. Each close pass reminds adversaries of a simple truth: challenges do not weaken America's Navy, they fortify it. The destroyer beneath that sky is not only a ship, it is an unspoken oath to protect freedom, uphold stability, and remind every rival that resolve is not something we claim. It is something we prove time and time again, without hesitation and without fail. A U.S. Navy destroyer is not simply a vessel cutting across the ocean. It is a statement, a fortress of steel, a guardian of peace that carries with it the weight of a nation's will. To the untrained eye, it may appear as just another warship on vast waters, but to those who understand the seas, a destroyer is presence, deterrence, and power condensed into a single silhouette on the horizon. It does not sail quietly for the sake of show. It sails as a promise, and that promise is one of protection, vigilance, and readiness to meet any threat that dares to cross its path. When a rival fighter jet chooses to fly dangerously close to such a ship, it is not an accident. It is not routine. It is a deliberate intrusion into the sphere of authority that a destroyer embodies. Hooks like these remind us that proximity is never neutral. Every inch the jet closes is a gesture that carries political weight, military calculation, and the thinly veiled suggestion of challenge. Yet in that very moment, the destroyer beneath remains unmoved, a towering symbol of discipline against recklessness. Its decks bristle with capability, its crew operates with unmatched focus, and its presence alone sends the clear message: intimidation ends where the U.S. Navy begins. Think of what a destroyer truly represents. It is a moving shield for global trade routes, ensuring that the lifeblood of economies flows freely across oceans without disruption. It is a watchtower, scanning the skies and seas for any sign of instability. It is a sword, ready to strike with precision should provocation escalate into aggression. Every rivet in its frame, every system humming deep within, every sailor standing watch, is part of a larger machine built not just for war but for stability. And when a jet dares to close in, it is not approaching just a ship, it is approaching the guardian of international order. Hooks like this, moments where steel wings brush too close to steel decks, reveal